Hey guys, my name is Jacob Reed and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Shadow Play by John Sandford, which is the second book in the Lucas Davenport series. If you want to see my video on book 1, Rules of Play, then use the link at the top of the screen. So spoilers for book 2, guys. If you haven't read it and you want to, then please use the link in my description to buy it. That would help me out a lot. So let's get started with the video. So this book opens with a ritualistic model of this Minneapolis landlord by his Native American tenant, and his tenant is part of the Crows, which is kind of a Native American terrorist organization, I guess. Um, and headed by these two elderly Native American men who have developed this plan to settle some long-standing scores, particularly with kind of a high-level government official who are attempting to lure into their trap. So these two men who lead it are Bluebolt and Shadowlove, and they're both pretty racist dudes. And meanwhile, Lucas Davenport's back, and he's still as shitty as ever. Um, he's a handsome man, but he has a terrifying smile, so it scares people. So basically, Lucas treats women like shit. Like, he's a terrible boyfriend. I don't know why all these women love him so much. Um, but, he doesn't live with Jennifer now, but he's still part of the baby's life. So he's a good father, but he'd be a very bad husband, as he points out. And he's a pretty terrible boyfriend. Meanwhile, I like how in this novel, compared to the first one, we know exactly who the killer is this time. So it's more of a chase book instead of a mystery. Blueboard doesn't want the killings to be seen as assassinations. He wants to start a full-on war with the police and the white people. So in this book, Native Americans are called Indians, and nowadays that's considered socially unacceptable because they're not from India. But I think it's acceptable because this book was written back in 1990. But if it was written today, it would be like, you can't say that. Like, I don't really feel comfortable saying that. I don't know. So throughout this review, I'm just gonna call them Native Americans, because the book was made in 1990. This review was made in 2020. So I'm just gonna go with 2020 standards. So Blueboard and Dooley were in this war together, and Dooley's now a barber, and they both served in the Pacific during World War II. And Dooley is the man that Lucas gets his information on about the Native Americans. He's kind of like his plug into the Native American community. So basically, people are getting killed in retribution for mistreating natives. Like this one businessman brought like toxic waste to the Native American communities, and just general racism is why the Crows like to kill white people. So the American people living around here, some of them, like, they admit that it's a crime and it's bad, but they're not really upset about it because the people they're killing are mostly racists anyway. Um, so Shadowlove, the other man, he has this abusive, schizophrenic mother who sees invisible people. Kind of like the Invisible Man, but not real. And he himself is kind of schizophrenic because he sees a black spot. Now, maybe that has something to do with his eyesight, or maybe he's schizophrenic. That's not really clear, but I thought it was worth mentioning. So Shadowlove kills this homeless man named Yellowhand because Shadowlove thinks that he makes the other Native Americans look bad. So we meet back on Lucas' side of the story. We meet his new partner Lily, who's a cop from New York who comes to Minneapolis, and she doesn't like how loose the law enforcement is here. Um, so Lucas tells Lily that Minneapolis, Minnesota doesn't really have as much crime, and they don't really have much problems compared to New York. And that did not age well. Like, I'd like to see Lucas Davenport solve a case in 2020, because Minneapolis, guys, oh my god, Minneapolis. Moving on. So Lucas and Lily are betting over who's a better marksman. It kind of shows the competitive nature at first, but that turns into lust because they bond over square dancing and they have sex. Because, every woman loves Lucas because he's so irresistible for some reason. So now she's cheating on her husband, and that kind of makes Lucas a potential homewrecker. So later, Hood starts a hostage situation, but he fails and dies before Lucas could get information out of him, because Lucas was just about to get information on where Shadow Love is, but unfortunately, Hood dies. Something I've noticed about this book is that everybody says the word man a lot in conversation, like, come on, man. Oh, man, like, really, man? I don't know. Like, they sound like Joe Biden. Everybody in this book sounds like Joe Biden, except for Lucas, I guess. But they all say man too much. So meanwhile, there's this teenager named Harry who's caught dealing cocaine, and Lucas uses this information to get information out of his mother, Louise, about the crows. So he kind of uses it as leverage so he could get more information on the crows. Some complaint I have about this book is that there's way too much sex in it. Like, I don't like Lily and Lucas as a couple. It just reads as softcore pornography to me. Like, I'm much more interested in the crime plot. And, like, I'm fine with, like, a little love story, but, like, they have full chapters just talking about them having sex. Like, not even A Song of Ice and Fire does that. And Lucas's baby mama, Jennifer, gets mad because he finds out that he's sleeping with Lily. And I mean, I don't know why she should get mad. I'll give Lucas the benefit of the doubt on that one because, like, they broke up, so who cares? But Lily's husband, I kind of feel bad for him. So after getting involved in a hostage situation, Lucas kind of gets PTSD from it, and he's not really acting like himself. But he gets pictures of the crow's faces from the library records, and if it was that easy, I feel like why didn't he do that to begin with? That's just something I have to ask. So later they're in a shootout with Shadow Love, and Shadow Love shoots Lily, but she lives, so it's fine, and there's pretty much no consequences for that, other than the fact that she's not involved in the climax of the novel. So, maybe that's just this cheap way of getting her out of the story for a bit. Um, so, the climax of the novel, like I said, Shadow Love sneaks into Lucas and Jennifer's house and opens fire on them and their baby. And he sets Lucas's house on fire, but Lucas's Jennifer were able to put it out, so that's fine. Luckily, Lucas is able to shoot Shadow Love before he hurts any of them, and Lucas lets him die before calling an ambulance because, again, as revenge for almost killing his ex-girlfriend and baby. So, I can't really blame Lucas there. So Lily leaves and goes back to New York and breaks things off with Lucas. But she calls him a few days later and tells him that her husband and kids are leaving for a week-long trip, and she wants Lucas to come back and fuck her again. And that's how the book ends. So, I have mixed feelings on this book. The kind of political incorrect ways they talk about Native Americans, and too much pornography, and Lucas isn't that likable. But I did like the crime plot, and I did like the villain, so I'm gonna give this a C plus. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this book. Um, I hope everybody out there has a nice day and stay safe. And I pretty much post videos almost every day now because it's like peak TV season, so stay tuned for those. And peace.